Pickerel today.
I saw. Well, we've got the next round of changes coming with some rain and maybe some heavy rain headed for the Northeast. We've had some flood watches up over parts of New England already, as well as the Ohio Valley. We'll tell you about that. There's hot weather across the Gulf states. We've got a few pockets of severe weather going on, and who knows what else we can find to talk about. All that tonight on this Joe and Joe Weather Show, Wednesday, the 9th of August, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, and Southwest Suffolk County on Long Island. And they serve the entire New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, tri-state area. So back up the truck and get all the mulch, topsoil, and sand you need. And remember that come this winter, it's salt. And also, if you need things to make sure you're okay in case there's a hurricane, they can help you. Generators, batteries, flashlights, etc. 631-756-1125 is the phone number. You cannot possibly find better prices anywhere. And the website is
OmniTrueValue.com.
Tempest by WeatherFlow, the revolutionary Tempest weather system. It's available to you and anyone else enjoying the fastest growing observing weather network on this planet. And, well, pretty much every planet in our solar system as far as we know. Who knows what the government's not telling us. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board, and it's also on the descriptor to this video. Take a look at it if you decide to purchase this or anything else on the Tempest website, because they got all sorts of other weather gadgets and gizmos. And the latest in smart weather fashion, use the coupon code I want a weather station. And
I want a weather station
now. And
now.
Yes, not tomorrow, not today, not maybe tomorrow, but not tomorrow. Do it now. So I want a weather station. What do you get?
You get 10. That's right. 10 Diaz. 10% off.
All right, I forgot to move you to the opposite side. And now I've moved you to the opposite side. So welcome everybody tonight on the Joe. I took you out of the picture there for a second. So welcome to everybody tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Everybody on the chat board, nice to see you all there tonight. Those of you lurking in the background, you can join the conversation. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. As we near 14,000 subscribers, by the way. And turn your notifications on, because the Joe and Joe Weather Show doesn't miss a beat Monday through Thursdays at 7:35 and Sundays at 11 a.m. Fridays and Saturdays, Joe and I take 2 days off so that we can be like normal human beings. And if there is a storm on a Friday or a Saturday, or one approaching from any direction, you can be sure that we will probably do an extra show or two in case that happens. And we have done that.
I'm sure that this upcoming winter, there's going to be busy times for us. I just have the feeling that it's going to be a very busy winter season.
Well, anything compared to last year, it would be considered a busy winter weather season. So we might actually get to draw more than 1 or 2 snowfall maps.
Can you believe that? That was really wild.
Yeah, it was. Hey, I had a white Christmas last year here in North Georgia, so I'm, and that's, by the way, the second time in 2 out of the last 3 years here we've had a white Christmas.
And we just saw something on the chat board, and I didn't catch. Let me just make sure I can get the name back. Yes, Michael Azera pointing out, Joe, that today is the anniversary of Hurricane Belle. I remember that very well, and that even rhymes.
Yes, that was. I think that I guess for both of us, that was really the first landfalling hurricane that sticks out in our mind. Maybe you have one other one that sticks out in your mind before 1970s, 7 or 6, I forget.
1976 for Belle. And I have some vague, fuzzy, diffuse remembrances of Donna in 1960, but that's
I was barely 6 months old.
Yeah. Well, I could remember that, and there were other. I mean, there was a rather potent tropical storm that came right over the New York area in 1971.
Doria?
Florida, yes, yeah.
Yes.
So that
Well,
was a
there have been a few along the way, and there's who knows what the next couple of months will bring if we wind up seeing another one this year or not. It's not impossible. Meanwhile, um, it's another weather system approaching from the west, and looking like this might have a bit more in the way of moisture with it, and setting up eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England for some heavy rain and potential for some flash flooding. And WPC certainly thinks so, and so do I.
well. I said to you off before we got the show started. I'm really scratching my head and wondering why, at the very least, none of the weather services, New York or Philadelphia or Boston, that none of them have put up any kind of a watch for flash flooding. Because I do believe, looking at all of the short term models, that between 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow, we're going to be looking at some rather potent shower activity. Maybe some, not so much in terms of thunder. I mean, I know that Eastern Long Island, for example, is under a marginal risk for severe weather, but I don't want to put the emphasis too much on severe weather. There may be some thunderstorms tomorrow, some convection to, boost the precipitation threat. But I'm thinking tomorrow, Joe, during that 6 hour interval between 2 and 8 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be looking at least one, possibly as much as 2 inches, and there may even be a few isolated spots to get even more than that.
All right.
With the threat, again, of some flash flooding, especially in areas of poor drainage. Tomorrow afternoon and early evening's commute home is going to be very problematic. Not going to be very pretty out there. And I think it's all going to begin. The first raindrops will begin falling here, maybe as early as 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, but we'll really begin to see it start to roll after about 10 or 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then really pick up and intensify after about 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I mentioned that there could be an isolated severe thunderstorm in the mix, but yeah, I agree. The main emphasis tomorrow is going to be on rain, and I think the convective rule that I use and you have pretty much lined up the same way. You give sort of a smoothed out idea of what the rainfall amounts are going to be, and then just acknowledge the fact that there will be some local spots that get a downpour that sits over them for a longer period of time, and somebody could wind up with double what's being forecast, and that's how you get these local flash flood situations. And the other thing I noticed, and I'm going to bring it up right now. I'll just bring up the radar. Is the fact that the shortwave trough that's driving this system eastward is there's enough of one here that is producing some fairly large areas of rain and thunderstorms. In fact, I think while we're on the air, I'm about to get some pouring rain here at any moment. If you see what's moving across northern Georgia, assuming that it holds together. So I hope I don't get any thunder and lightning and wind up losing power. But that extends all the way up into northern Indiana and northern Illinois. That's a nice little low that's moving along to the northeast. So assuming that this area stays mostly intact, and most of the guidance says it will, and then maybe flare up a bit more during the day tomorrow. Yeah, I think that the 1 to 2 inch idea is a good one.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we're looking at some now. There's some people who don't want to believe it. My son and daughter-in-law are going to be leaving first thing in the morning tomorrow and traveling up to Ithaca, New York, to do blueberry picking. Joe.
Oh, good
And
luck.
my daughter-in-law was arguing with my son, as I told him this morning. I said what I'm anticipating for tomorrow. And she said, well, I think I heard something that it's not going to start raining until later in the day tomorrow. And then maybe,
Until a week from Wednesday at 1:10. That's when
yes.
it'll start raining.
And then I told him, I said, all right, it's not going to be exactly it's not going to be a great day tomorrow, but they're going to be there till Friday. They've got a hotel room. They're going to be staying there till Friday. I said, so do your blueberry picking on Friday. And the comment back from again, my daughter-in-law is, oh, but I don't want to pick on Friday. Then everything will be all wet.
Oh, you can't win, can you? Really, those are conversations that you just have to avoid having.
Yes.
Really.
Well,
Johnny Quest hitting the tip jar tonight. Thank you, Johnny Quest, and he wants to know about the heat wave in South America that everybody's talking about, and it stands out even more because it's in the middle of winter. I actually meant to bring up some of the GFS maps of South America. Maybe we'll do that at the tour, once we get all our weather done here. But you see what's coming. So the radar's certainly supportive of getting some heavy rains. We have the first flash flood watches up for the eastern half of Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and a couple of counties in eastern. Is that east? Let me before I speak. Eastern Massachusetts, Rhode Island. And does it include the eastern counties of Connecticut? No, it does not. It stops right at the Connecticut state line. So if you live near the Connecticut state line, just go to the other side because there's no flood watch yet on your side, but there is a flood watch on the other side. But I suspect they're going to be putting more of them up.
I take it back because I thought that Boston had not issued anything, but obviously they have. So Boston, I will not lump you in with Upton or New York City or Philadelphia, which actually, if you look at it, Joe, Philadelphia and New York will be getting it before Boston does. And yet Boston has already put stuff up for tomorrow in terms of potential, floods and heavy weather.
Now, Joe, as you know, and as you and I both know, that the Upton office is glued to their seat, to their seats right now, with their eyes on their mobile devices. Just, basically everybody's got the volume up, so we're being broadcast in stereo. They've got an opportunity here to get a flood watch up before Mount Holly does. Because I'm yet not aware. I'll have to ask Tony Gigi. Perhaps Mount Holly is also glued to the Joe and Joe Weather Show every weeknight from Monday through Thursday at 7:35 and Sundays at 11 a.m. We know that WPC and the Storm Prediction Center just live off every word we say. So we'll see. We'll see if they, I know if I were typing up a website post right now, the minute I hit publish and post it on all the social media platforms, that's when they'll put the flood watch up. And I'd have to go back and start all over. Anyway, we've got flood watches up also for the northern counties of West Virginia, the southern counties of Ohio. That extends into both Indiana and Illinois. You see them there in the green. Southern Missouri or southeast. Well, actually, they may have it further west because there's a tornado watch up. It's the counties in southwest Missouri, but the flood watch is up in southeast. Flood watch is up for northern Arkansas as well as northwest Tennessee and southeast Kentucky. The tornado watch goes into northwest Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma. And then you've got a variety of there's a couple of severe thunderstorm watches in there too. One in southern Oklahoma and the northern counties of Texas, another one in northern Alabama, but not in northern Georgia. They don't have a severe thunderstorm watch. And we have the usual array of excessive heat warnings and heat advisories from Texas to Florida. But nothing, Joe, nothing in Arizona, nothing in New Mexico, nothing in Nevada, Utah, California. There's no, for the first time in a while, none of those states have anything regarding excessive heat.
Well, but we don't want to see excessive heat, do we?
No, we don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
we.
actually, but in terms of that, just in terms of the fact of the excessive heat, it's been really pronounced and long lasting here across the Gulf states, particularly from say western Georgia, southern Georgia, westward through Texas. I'll give you that. Um, but the western heat wave has not. The western heat wave has been pretty well was confined to the areas in Arizona, Southern California, Southern Nevada, maybe at times getting into Southern Utah, a handful of days where it got up into Colorado. It was never one of those heat waves that went all the way up the West Coast to Washington and Oregon and Idaho and Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember heat waves where basically the whole West was painted in excessive heat
Oh yeah.
from coast to inland spots. So, from the standpoint of absolute geography, this was actually relatively contained. I know that the way it's presented, you would think the whole United States was burning up this summer, and it's been far from the case, especially in the northern plains where it's been pretty much and the Western Great Lakes where it's been a rather cool summer there.
And we're still waiting in New York City for. I mean, I know just a stone's throw to the west in Newark, they've already had at least one, maybe a couple of heat waves, but Central Park still hasn't had a heat wave. They
Yeah.
still have not been able to string together three or more consecutive 90-degree days, at least in Midtown Manhattan.
Right. Well, when you have your jet exhaust blowing air right onto your thermometer, you're and that's sitting over concrete like it is in Newark
Yeah.
and LaGuardia, you're bound to get some pretty high temperatures. Anyway, here's the 21Z surface map after what was a very nice day in the east. Temperatures making the middle and upper 80s. Dew points that were, I would describe them as reasonable. Um, the upper 50s to low 60s. That's not bad. Certainly, it's reasonable compared to terrible when the dew points are up in the 70s. So you didn't have that, and it was actually quite nice. Pretty far down the eastern seaboard, even to me. I had sunshine for most of the day today, and it wasn't. I only got to 82 for a high today here in the mountains of North Georgia. But now, because of that frontal boundary, we're getting that area of rain and thunderstorms. The southern edge of what's headed to you is coming over me at any moment. And that frontal boundary goes all the way back across Arkansas, Oklahoma, and then kind of whips around through the central Rockies. You see the southwest temperatures in Arizona are all above 100, but that's where they're supposed to be, all above 100, but they're not. I don't see anything too excessive. And across the plains, it's actually quite reasonable. Temperatures into the 80s, dew points mostly in the lower 60s. You go further north, up into the Dakotas, and it's actually in the 60s there in some places with dew points down in the low 50s. And then you got 40 dew points from a little high that's nosing down from Canada into North Dakota and up into northern Minnesota. Air that will one day be back into the eastern part of the United States before you know it. All right, here's a satellite loop tonight, and you see what's coming. Big mass of clouds. You see where the lightning strikes are across central Indiana and also in northern Alabama into northwest Georgia. A few lightning strikes showing up in southwestern Missouri from an east-west line of storms there. It's nice and sunny in the northern plains. Very little in Texas in terms of any kind of rain. There's a couple of thunderstorms there that are firing up in in west central Texas moving east. We've got some storms in northern Arizona and into New Mexico, and the west coast is fine and dandy. And here's another repeat of the radar. Not a thing on the radar. There's a couple of blips in Pennsylvania I'm noticing. Looks like it was just enough going on for a couple of pop-ups there. There's one on either side of I-81 northeast of Harrisburg. And then there's another little blip right along 195 in Trenton. And that's about it. Some showers and a couple of boom booms in South Florida. We have A couple of showers and a few storms up in Wisconsin. Same goes for the Dakotas. In North Dakota, seeing a little streak of precip there. And then you can see the stuff that's going on in the Southwest. Uh, the, I'm just watching the radar with the stuff to the west. It seems like it's not one of these things where it's uh, diurnal, where the stuff forms during the day and then disappears after sunset. The shortwave seems to be, Joe, holding this stuff pretty well as it moves to the east.
Yeah, and just getting back to something you were talking about like a minute or two ago, I was kind of surprised. Relatively dry today with dew point temperatures down. Was kind of surprised to see even a couple of those showers so very close in adjacent New Jersey. You wouldn't think that with the dry air in place, you'd be even able to say or see that, but we did. And tomorrow, the dew points are going to be way up. The atmosphere is going to be very juicy and well primed for, again, the potential threat of some heavier rain and downpours, especially during the afternoon. Also tomorrow, Joe, the highs tomorrow here in the tri-state area, at least in the Hudson Valley, are likely to be in the mid to upper 70s, but those highs may very well be attained before noontime.
Yes,
and I think
exactly. Once it rains, it's going down to the maybe upper 60s and low 70s.
We're going to see winds turn, I think, into the east during the afternoon, along with that potential threat of rain, heavy rain. So yeah, we may see the temperatures drop tomorrow in the afternoon after a relatively mild and humid start to the day.
We have on the chat board. Where did he go? I just had him up here in front of me. Where did he go? Alfalfa something. I lost you, bud.
Alfalfa?
Yeah. Well, alfalfa.
Can he sing "I'm in the Mood for Love"?
Oh, good God. Hopefully not. What happens is I have it on the chat board, and then the chat board moves. Oh, yeah. Alfalfa Bill Enjoyer. Well, first of all, welcome, Alfalfa Bill Enjoyer. You are new to the chat board. I certainly have never seen you here. And glad to see you on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. So just for you, I put the radar up again so you could see the storms, this east-west line with a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings that have popped up in southwest Missouri and a couple of flash flood warnings that have popped up as well, running back to the Kansas state line. Now, it appears that this thing is sliding more to the east and not very much to the south. So I'm wondering whether they'll just stay north of the Arkansas border throughout the lifespan of this area that is moving to the east. So there are some strong cells in there, no doubt about it, as it does move along. The Storm Prediction Center with a tornado watch that is up for eastern Oklahoma, small corner of northwestern Arkansas, and into southwest Missouri. And then we have a severe thunderstorm watch that extends on the southern flank of that into extreme north central Texas, and also on the southeastern side in northern Alabama. We've got a small severe thunderstorm watch that covers the northern third of the state. And you see where all the risk areas are today. Now, for tomorrow, and as Joe indicated, yeah, there could be an isolated severe thunderstorm. They've got a marginal risk in southeastern New England and into the eastern half of Long Island, and then it comes back on shore in southern Delaware, back through Virginia into the southern Appalachians, and back to Alabama and Georgia with a slight risk in southeastern Missouri, southeastern Virginia, and much of North Carolina into South Carolina. That comes, by the way, with a 2% tornado risk, both in the Carolinas and also in the area in southeastern New England to eastern Long Island. And by the way, speaking of which, that tornado that we had yesterday up in Lewis County, Joe, was an EF3.
Yeah. Wow.
It was an EF3 tornado. I think I read somewhere where it ran for about 25 miles. So it covered a lot of ground.
That is amazing. We had back in 2007, we had an EF2 across Westchester, and we felt, oh my God, that's amazingly strong for someplace up in this neck of the woods, but an EF3 in Lewis County, New York, that truly is wild.
Yes, indeed. And I was looking at the list of the number of EF3 tornadoes in New York State, and except for one in Orange County, which I think was back in 1988, this was going back to 1950. All the other counties were in upstate New York, and there weren't any in Suffolk County or Nassau or Putnam or Dutchess or the New York City counties. Orange County was the furthest south that I could find. On day 3, which is Friday into Saturday, you could see no thunderstorms except for Maine. No thunderstorms in the northeast into the northern mid-Atlantic states and back into West Virginia, Ohio, and most of Kentucky. But we do have a slight risk for severe weather in southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, eastern Iowa, northwest Missouri. And I don't think they had – actually, they did have something in the long range. For day 5, was it? Yeah, day 5, they have a 15% risk area indicated for – this is Sunday into Monday for Iowa and northern Missouri. And this is going to be with a weather front that's going to approach the East Coast late Monday and Monday night. And I don't know if you took a look far enough down the road, Joe, but that looks to me like it's starting to look more and more like another it's almost a repeat performance of what we had Monday. That it could be another one where we have extensive severe weather up and down the eastern seaboard.
Well, we'll see. I don't think Monday. I think what we'll see on Monday is just sunshine giving way to clouds. And whatever we get probably would be late Monday, more like Monday night.
Yeah, late Monday night.
And hopefully be out of here by Tuesday morning.
Yes. Okay. So WPC has a fairly large area of slight risk for flash flooding in the Ohio and Tennessee Valley and back to the middle Mississippi Valley, which is playing out right now, of course. And we do have flood watches up. This was the other reason why I thought they would put up a flood watch in eastern PA to southern New England, because WPC updated this forecast they updated it at 3 o'clock. 3:15 is the time of this. No, 4:15 p.m. So maybe they didn't do it. I don't know what their criteria, how they figure it out, whether they put the watch up for now or not. But WPC in their update added this area of slight risk for flash flooding from eastern Pennsylvania across the northern half of New Jersey, all of the lower Hudson Valley, Long Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. I thought that going up would have gotten them maybe to put the flood watch up, but you know what? They may do it when they update their zones, or maybe they'll just wait till tomorrow morning.
Well, they said, now this is from the latest weather discussion from Upton or from New York, 7:16 p.m. And they say, as far as the heavy rain goes, WPC has upgraded the entire area from a marginal to a slight risk of excessive rainfall. So they are certainly aware of it. High mean relative humidity, warm cloud layer to around 11,000 feet, and PWAT values, that's
the PWATs.
Water,
right.
Precipitable water values, getting close to 2 inches does suggest some flash flood risk. But due to the progressive nature of the system, we have held off on any flood watches for the time being. But with this latest package consensus, QPF amounts have more than doubled. For most of the area, the current thinking is 1 to 1.5 inches, with certainly locally higher amounts of closer to 3 inches possible due to the convective nature. But they still want to hold back on any kind of a advisory or watch for potential flooding. So if it happens, it probably will not happen now until late tonight or maybe first thing in the morning tomorrow.
You see, Joe, that was their way of saying that they watched the Joe and Joe weather show, because they mentioned the convective double rule. That we have trademarked, we've copyrighted it, trademarked, but we won't see our lawyers over it. But it's good to know that they're paying attention. Also tomorrow, which doesn't make me too happy, I'm sitting also here in North Georgia in a slight risk for flash flooding, 15 to 40% chance, with a larger area of marginal risk surrounding it. And I'm not happy about it, if only because of the. I mean, I'm glad we'll get rain, but I'm not happy because I'm supposed to have my shed installed tomorrow between 8 a.m. and noon. Shrubby hit the chat board, Joe. I'm sorry, hit the super chat tip jar. Thank you, Shrubby. And he says, looks like we're going to get a good soaker here in southeast Pennsylvania tomorrow. Thanks for all you do, Joes. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Yeah.
much. And yes, it looks like you'll get into the soaking rain as well. So don't be shocked if tomorrow morning the flood watches are up. And then, of course, the next day, small area in the lower lakes. You got the usual suspect areas from the southeast coast, west across the Gulf states, and then swings northwestward into southern Missouri and Arkansas, where we have a marginal risk. And not to leave out our friends in Arizona and New Mexico, there's marginal risk in southeast Arizona, southwest New Mexico, and in a small area in the Sierra Nevadas in California. Again, that's for Friday into Saturday. And the rainfall amounts, WPC kind of went a little hog wild. Now, this is a 7-day forecast. So they've got an inch and a half in the purple. The reds that you see are 2.5, 3-inch amounts. So that covers just about everywhere from southern Pennsylvania all the way up into Maine. And again, being that it's convective, you certainly some places are going to wind up with double what's forecast. Again, this is a 7-day, uh, uh, the 7-day QPF. I can bring up the 3-day. Should I bring up the 3-day?
Yeah, why not?
All right, so let's bring up the 3-day because that'll be at least that'll take into account. That goes into here's the 1 to 3-day. This goes to 0Z Sunday. You know what? Let's go to the 1 to 2 day because there might be a chance for a couple of storms around. So I don't want to, pollute the map. But this is what they've got for tomorrow. So the dark blue is a ½ inch. The lighter blues that's where you start to get into the 1-inch plus, and you can see the streaks of 1.5 inches. This map was updated at 6:16 p.m. Eastern time tonight, and then extends up into Maine. It might be a shade on the low side if the radar's got any say in it. And you can see some of the heavier rain patches that are showing up in Ohio and Indiana, and also in northern Alabama and North Georgia with an inch and a half plus. So it does look like we're going to get something out of this with tomorrow. And then, of course, there are a couple of other events because apparently we still seem to be staying in this pattern where we get a cold front, then we get a nice day. Then we get a cold front, then we get a nice day. Then we get a cold front, then we get a nice day. So enjoy the nice days in between these fronts going by.
Indeed, an alternating pattern, to say the least.
Yes. So I'm just going to have the European up on the screen because I was looking at it. That was the last map I looked today, was looking at the European. So here's our system for tomorrow, and you can see it just kind of marches along there. And actually, the European has a surface low in West Virginia that moves into southeast PA and then is sitting right over Long Island by tomorrow evening. It's a 999 low, which if it was the middle of winter, it might not be anything to be special, to call special, but a 999 Presh low in early August is kind of impressive.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good for a non-tropical system. And then it actually strengthens a bit as it goes into southeastern New England, deepens down to a 94 with a few closed isobars around it, maybe a little bit of a northerly breeze when that goes by, and then heads on its way to Nova Scotia by the time we get to Friday with rain. And by the way, there is rain here. Whether the heaviest rain gets up into Vermont and Maine this time around, they might avoid the heaviest rain. I think it'll probably be more concentrated around that low center as opposed to further up. But nonetheless, I mean, you folks in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, where you don't need any more rain at all, are going to get something out of this. And then that goes up through Nova Scotia and New Brunswick and moves out. We get a break on Friday So, considering the day you had today, I know you were talking yesterday about whether today was the pick of the week or Friday was the pick of the week. Are you thinking Friday is still going to be better than today?
Yeah, I think so. Looking for very warm temperatures in the mid to upper 80s, and I think, Joe, that dew point temperatures are going to be dropping into the upper, maybe even middle 50s. That's pretty darn
Nice.
good.
That is good. Now here's the front for Saturday, which this is kind of quick. So the dew points don't really have a chance to fly up with this. So this is of the three systems, this has the weakest shortwave that's moving along in the flow. And there are some showers and thunderstorms that the models generate going into Saturday evening. More to the north in upstate New York and into interior southern New England down, that does extend precip down into New Jersey. There's not a whole lot happening in the east over on Saturday. Then Sunday will probably be the better of the 2 weekend. Well, maybe not. I mean, they might actually both be about the same, except for the shower and thunderstorm interruption. But here comes the system for Monday, and you've got a fairly wrapped up low there. In Arkansas, this is going to be another strong upper air feature that dives southeastward, and there's going to be a line of storms late Monday into Monday night. And yeah, both models seem to want to time this where it comes through at night. And what makes it interesting to me, Joe, is the fact that uh, in this last case, once we got past, say, 7 o'clock in the evening on Monday, a lot of the storms and the precip just started to die out. This one the models seem to indicate that the precip not only holds together, that the storms not only hold together, but it actually amplifies somewhat during Monday night. It's be interesting to see if that's indeed the case.
Yeah, and we've seen that happen a couple of times this summer, where the amplification has occurred, and we get the sudden. I mean, in one particular case, it was just last month, where we had in early or mid July, we had up here we had like 8 or 9 inches of rain because the system amplified, and we just kept getting heavy rain and heavy rain and heavy and thunder and lightning and heavy rain. It, you know, hoping that not going to be the case next Monday night, but it seems to be that in the summer of 2023. Well, what can I say? I mean, last year was bone dry. It was hot and dry, and then this year, well, you know about this year. This year it's been like a tropical jungle.
Yes. And I brought up the GFS 700 millibar map just to show everybody, what this looks like aloft. You can see these dents in the flow. The overall flow continues to be dominated by a jet that's in Canada that keeps flexing, and these areas of energy that just roll along in the flow. And this is the next one. This is for tomorrow. It's not the most impressive shortwave in the world, but you know what? It's enough to do what it's going to do with the rain. And then that goes by. Then you have the one for Saturday, which is this is Friday afternoon, and that's the shortwave for Saturday is sitting in the Western Lakes at that point. And this one I think is the weaker of the bunch. As it moves along, it kind of stays on the flattish side in the flow. In other words, when you see those dark black lines, they're not dented or V-shaped. They're just more. They're a lot smoother. So it doesn't have the kind of punch as the one that comes in behind it for Monday, which is another one of these diving upper lows. I can't remember a summer where I've seen more diving upper lows come down out of Canada like we've had this summer. Here's another one, Joe. Much like Monday, diving southeastward, and it actually strengthens as it moves east. And the other thing to point out is if you look at Tuesday evening, look at all the dark. This is again at 700 millibars, so it's at 10,000 feet, which is where I like to look at when it comes to severe weather. All those dark brown spots from North Carolina, Virginia, right on the border, that runs northward up through the Chesapeake Bay into western New Jersey and on up into upstate New York. Those are jet streaks where you have bursts of wind of 45 and 50 knots or higher, and that is conducive to severe weather that produces thunderstorms that produce strong winds, and also can cause rotation to develop. Speaking of which, it is pouring here right now. I have my headsets on, and I can hear the rain hitting the roof. It sounds like somebody's firing bullets.
Oh,
Somebody's taking using this as a shooting range. So it is pouring here, but I don't hear any thunder, which is good. But again, going back to this shortwave, it's very impressive. And it's another instance, Joe, where if you look at the time, by the time we get to Tuesday behind it, if the GFS is right, this is going to be another case like we had, what was it, about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, where we had that big dry air mass comes in for 4 days. Well, I don't know about 4 days, but it does bring the jet all the way down into southern Georgia, which means that the dew points are going to drop not just in the Northeast and northern Mid-Atlantic states, but they'll probably drop all the way down into the interior Southeast, as well as all the way back, as it goes out of the Great Lakes. All the dew points in the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley are going to be quite low.
I'm rooting that on. It's after going through an entire month, almost an entire month of sauna bath weather up here in terms of high dew points in the upper 60s and lower mid 70s. Any protracted or prolonged spell of lower dew point temperatures, especially if we can get them down into the 50s, that's something I would welcome, and I'm sure a lot of people would welcome.
Yeah, in fact, we'll follow the dew points along just to get the dew point. We could loop this, and you see tomorrow. Of course, the dew points come up tomorrow into the 60s with what's going on, and then Friday, Joe talking about what a nice day it's going to be on Friday. Well, you can see all the dew points in the 50s and even some 40 dew points on Friday in parts of Pennsylvania and upstate New York and New England. And starting Saturday, they begin to pull away. By Saturday evening, they've got a 70 dew point in North Jersey, which is with that next week or short wave. So that's why we'll probably see some pop-up showers and thunderstorms. And then Sunday, Sunday the dew points come down a little bit. By Sunday, early Monday, they've got dew points in the 50s, but that's short-lived because by Monday afternoon, there's a 55 dew point in North Jersey. By Monday evening, it's at 63. And then by 2 a.m. Tuesday, it's up to 68. So both models seem to want to time this cold front to come through on Monday during the nighttime hours. So it'll be, again, interesting to see how the storms react to that. And then, of course, you see all the green or greenish area by Tuesday afternoon, the darker greens all the way down into northern Alabama, North Georgia, dew points in the 50s. You've got 50 dew points back to the Great Lakes, 40 dew points in the Western Lakes, 50 dew points moving into the Northeast. I mean, this is just a nice shot of dry air. And there's another one later next week that comes in toward the end of the week. The other thing I wanted to point out, at least with the upper air, this was another thing I noticed. This is also going to be interesting to see which models got the upper hand in the long range, because the the GFS, at least the old GFS did. Let's see if the new one did. So here are your upper troughs. So here's one. This is the one for. Let's just back it up. So here we go. This is the one for Thursday, and then the little weak system for Saturday. The stronger upper low diving down for Monday into Tuesday, and then that goes out. And now here's a change. The GFS, well, no, not yet. This is not a change. A big upper low in Canada drops down into eastern Canada by the time we get to the end of next week. And then that pulls away. And see, the GFS still wants to try to lift that jet up into Canada, whereas the European, Joe, is a little different. The European says that the upper low, instead of pulling the jet out of Canada, wants to drive it more into the Northeast on day 10. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. And it has a much blockier look up in Canada, in northern Canada, and up to Greenland. than the GFS does. So it'll be interesting to see, because the Europeans seems to be almost implying that, you know what, the pattern's going to be pretty much continuing the way it's been, rather than relaxing the way the GFS has it.
Yeah, I've been saying this over and over again. Once you get past 5 days, these models, really start to diverge sometimes, and we are seeing that divergence between the GFS and the European beyond that 5 day interval. So we'll just have to see which one is correct. I will point out that the last couple of years, the GFS was certainly ahead of the European in picking up on prospective tropical cyclones. But this year, how many times have we seen Category 3 hurricanes near the eastern seaboard?
Well, you want to see another one? Because here's one. This is on the GFS. This is on the GFS in 2 weeks. It actually spins something up off the Florida East Coast. I can't see how 95, trying to read the pressure here. It looks like a 964 hurricane, so a strong Cat 2 south of Charleston in 2 weeks. So maybe 99% chance it's not there. But perhaps the idea, we've been talking about the fact that the European is starting to show some wave action later in its forecast period, which goes out 7 to 10 days. 954, Christinapedia, thank you. So now the GFS on this run for the first, it did to some extent, it had a tropical storm off the Florida coast in its long range. So again, I would not take this literally, but just the fact that it's doing something now probably means that might be a signal that after mid-month, after we get through the 15th, that we're going to start to see things pick up a little bit on the Atlantic side, which it's almost if it's just a normal August, it's a no-brainer.
Right. And once we get past mid-August, activity in the Atlantic Basin and Caribbean will certainly, from a climatological standpoint, pick up. So what do they say about a broken clock being right twice over a 24-hour period?
Broken clocks are right twice a day, except if it's a military clock.
Yeah. Eventually, the GFS is going to have to be right. So maybe it's going to be right once we get into late August or September.
All right, Johnny Quest brought up South America, so I'm showing the temperature anomalies here. So let me just, I have no idea. I have really very little knowledge of the climate. Excuse me. And how things work. And yes, it is winter time there. So this was the anomaly for this afternoon. Well, it's 0Z Thursday, so way above normal in the southern part. There's some areas where the temperatures have been below normal, but it's been, we're talking anomalies of 16 to 20 degrees Celsius anomalies or higher in parts of Argentina. Now there's some cooler air coming in from the Pacific into Chile, and you see it there with that big. So it looks like the heat wave is over with. Whatever's been going on down there, the heat wave's over with, because the anomalies suddenly go below normal in the areas, almost as much below normal as they were above normal. Joe, we're talking about, it is winter time, so we're talking about temperatures here that are, in some areas, some of the temperature anomalies are 10 to 15 degrees below average in Argentina and in Chile. And then it goes above average again after that. So whatever is coming in doesn't seem to last, but it is there for at least a few days.
Yes.
And
low shear and off-the-wall water temp will explode a storm and won't be good for the coast, according to Scott Patton. I'm making the assumption he's alluding to the potential of some kind of a hurricane in the Caribbean or the Atlantic Basin. So we'll see.
I'm running the surface map, so I'm guessing these are the Andes Mountains down in Chile, because that's where you have all the dark blue snow. You take a look, and then there's some kind of storm. There's like this big storm that surface storm out in the South Atlantic where it's got snow. So we must getting close to where the Falklands are. I think they were on the right on the edge of the map there. and they get some snow out of it. And then there's some more snow that comes in into southernmost parts of South America. Well, it's snowing somewhere anyway. And then you look up in Brazil. You look up in Brazil. That does, it doesn't rain for 2 weeks. Like I said, I have no clue.
No, it is what it is, as you said, and the same holds true for my for me. I really don't know all that much about South American climatology or to make a forecast, even using the short-term models.
Well, we all know, as Desi Arnaz sings in Santiago, Chile, that Chile is in Chile as a rule.
Yeah.
In Santiago, Chile, da da da. We haven't done that in a while.
Well, I haven't been to Santiago. I've been to Santiago twice in my life. And of course, most recent was when I went down to Antarctica in 2021. And I said, I can't believe I'm back in Santiago, Chile.
Da da da. In Santiago, Chile, da da da. Oh, God, we're sick. Leon Probitsky hits the tip jar. Thank you, Leon, on this Wednesday night. Let's do a little Briller Jeopardy, sending our positive energy and get well wishes to Mother Briller, who's still recovering from her little, well, it's not a little fall, but she had a fall. And we hope that she is continuing on a road to a speedy recovery. So tonight, Joe, it's the average high temperatures for the month of August.
Now, wait a minute now. He sent you another Briller Jeopardy? Because
You have one?
I have one that I have not.
All right, so you do yours, and I'll save this for tomorrow.
All right. So, and this is the average high temperature. In August, I've got 5 cities. You must have 5 cities for tomorrow. So these are the average high temperatures in August in the following cities, starting with Atlanta, Georgia. What is the average high temperature in August in Atlanta?
I will say, well, it's been hot down in Atlanta this month. For the beginning of the month versus the end of the month, I'll say that 92.
Yeah. Well, you say 92, but Christiapedia says 85. And Leon Probitsky says only 81, Leon, in Atlanta in August? Helen Bertona, 87. Northern Grace, pretty darn close at 88. News Radio. Rich Rodmansky said the same thing, 88. Joe Gaffney, 84. Michael Azera, 91. Art Sy, 92. But William Huber, yes, William Huber does it. He gets it right on the nose with 89 degrees.
Well, so did Chuck Cardillo, got 89.
Chuck Cardillo got it? All right.
Yes.
Well, I leave Chuck out. 89.
All right. Next.
The next one on the list is Beantown, Boston. Average high temperature in August.
In August, I will say 81.
Ooh, that's pretty darn good, Joe. It's not right, but it's pretty
close.
Darn good. Leon Probitsky said 79. Rich Rotsmansky also said 81. But Christopher Alley, congratulations, Chris. You hit it on the nose with 80 degrees. Ta-da.
Oh, ta-da. What's next?
Charlotte, North Carolina, home to WBT. And that's a radio station in Charlotte that booms in every night here in the New York metropolitan area, so much so it sounds like it's local, but it's not.
Well, if Atlanta's 89 for the month of August, I think I'll go a little lower for Charlotte and say 87.
Good guess, but not quite. 87 for Frank R. Helen Bertona says 86. Chuck Cardillo, 87. Latex Streams, 900. Frank Darcy, congratulations,
Patrick
Frank.
Darcy.
Patrick? Oh, yeah, it's Patrick. Patrick Darcy, 89, right on the nose.
Same as Atlanta.
Same as Atlanta, Joe. Oh, well. How about Chicago?
Chicago.
Yes.
Oh, that's tough. I'll say 80.
All right. Well, that was also Boston. Are you going by the rule that maybe tonight Mr. Briller has multiple numbers for multiple cities?
It didn't even occur to me. I just went with 80.
89 for Atlanta, 89 for Charlotte,
All right.
80 for Boston, 80 for Chicago. No, doesn't work this time. But Patrick Dorsey hit it on the nose with 83
Yeah,
degrees.
see, Chicago's a little tough because between the lake and then if it's not off the wind is not off the lake, you know, I mean Midway versus O'Hare. So
William Huber also has 83. And Christopedia says it's a trick game.
oh, the fix is in, Christina
Yeah.
Pedia.
The last one on the list is Dallas.
Dallas.
High temperature in August in Dallas.
Well, this year it's been up over 100 every day. I'll say 94.
Good guess. Nice try, though, but not quite. Now, on the other hand, Rich Rotmansky said 96, and that's not quite it either, but he's a little closer than you were, Joe.
Oh, so it's I was higher. Well, Helen Bertona says 95.
Yes.
Everybody so far is saying under 96. Art
Yes.
Sai says 93. Shrubby says 94. Chuck Cardillo 94. Latex Dream says 99.
99.
I'm thinking that's too high.
It's a little on the high side.
Okay. So that leaves us with 97 or 98. So I'm gonna say 97.
97 is correct. Average high temperature in August, and thank God I don't live there, in the month of August is 97 degrees.
Rich wants his consolation prize, which is a
set of silverware from the Michael C. Fina Company.
No, he didn't want that. He wanted. Where is she, by the way? Speaking of the devil.
Oh, a year's supply of turtle wax.
Turtle wax. You know, I've got Carol here somewhere. No, that's Alice Brady. No, that's Mrs. Bundy. So we can't have her. Is this her? Nope. Is this her? Oh, yeah, there she is. Here she is, Joe. Ta-da. Just a second. Just for you, Rich. Okay? Just for you. It's Carol Merrill.
No, it's amazing how all the game shows have multiple women. And now, actually, on The Price is Right, they have men now.
Yes,
Men
they do.
But, I mean, like, on Let's Make a Deal, the original Let's Make a Deal, it was just Carol.
Yeah, is the nighttime prices right now on every once a week? Because the other night, I could swear it was on like 2 or 3 times last week.
Well, you know, they don't have, because of the writer's strike, they're having.
They don't have any programming even when they did, but even before the writer's strike.
Right.
Oh, good God. All right, well, there you have it in a nutshell. We've covered it all, and we actually now went almost 58 minutes. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight is brought to you by Tempest by WeatherFlow. The revolutionary Tempest weather system is yours for the asking, and just you can get one and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. Easy to install. It's just 2 pieces. You put it on a pole and you put it outside. And the link is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video. Use the coupon code I want a weather station and you get
10% off.
And Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Make sure you get over there if you need anything, any supplies to get you through a tropical storm or hurricane, or if you're just doing landscaping. 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town. The website is
OmniTrueValue.com. And thanks again to Johnny Quest, Grubby, and Leon Probitsky. And tentatively, we now believe that we will have a Joe and Joe show tomorrow night, although this will all be dependent upon the executive producer who says that there still will be a ball game tomorrow night with the Hudson Valley Renegades, which we are tentatively scheduled to go to tomorrow night. So if I'm there, I guess there's no show. But if I'm not there, we'll be here.
Well, maybe it'll be like the pros, and they'll just cancel the game ahead of time.
It would make, I tell you what, it makes some sense. We are again looking for, at the very least, 1 to 2 inches of rain, the rain not subsiding until sometime after 8 o'clock. The ball game is supposed to begin at 7:05. And, it's a minor league game. I mean, I think actually, Joe, one of the star players of the Renegades, and by the way, I was wrong. The Renegades are a high A minor league club of the Yankees, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
And one of their star players, who's known as the Martian, it's his night tomorrow night. They're going to give out to the first 1,000 fans who come to the ball game tomorrow night a bobblehead of the Martian. So something for you to think about if you're planning to go tomorrow night.
All right. All right, folks. So we'll see you tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Stay dry tomorrow. And, of course, updates will be going up on my YouTube channel here. So you'll see a couple of videos like I put up every day, Weather in a Minute and Weather in 5. And also go to the community page on the YouTube channel, and you can find my latest website post and weather maps and that kind of thing. So check that all out, and we will see you tomorrow. Nighty night.
Nighty night, folks.